Maybe this is a Betty Davis misquote when she once said, "You should never talk bad about the dead." Joan Crawford is dead. Good. I'm not a Hulk Hogan fan, never have been. No Canadian or true Canadian be a Hulk Hogan fan because he screwed over all the Canadian wrestlers in WWE, screwed over all the Canadian wrestlers in WCW. Yes, he was an iconic wrestler, and yes, he did a lot, but he's polarizing years recently. His cultist support of the Republicans and Donald Trump don't do anything for me. So out of courtesy to the channel, I'll try to keep it as civil and as objective as possible. Hulk Hogan, the larger-than-life wrestling superstar who helped catapult professional wrestling into mainstream culture during the 80s and beyond, has died at the age of 71. Authorities in Clearwater, Florida, responded to a call Thursday morning about a cardiac arrest. Hogan was pronounced dead at hospital. Police sent a statement on Facebook. WWE posted a note on X saying it was saddened to learn the WWE Hall of Famer had passed on. One of pop culture's most recognizable figures, Hogan helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 80s. WWE extends its condolences to Hogan's family and friends and fans. Born Terry Jean Bollea, he rose to international fame under the bright lights of WWF, now WWE. Also was a big success at AWA under Vern Gagne. He became known for his trademark handlebar mustache, red and yellow ring gear, and booming battle cry of "What you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you." So I really first saw him as Thunderlips in Rocky III, and that was a really good character. And I think basically at the time his fame had not gone to his head. When he evolved into star in the 80s, he held the line multiple editions of Wrestlemania and starred in Hollywood films including Rocky III, as well as the bomb comedies such as Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny, and Spy Hard. Now he was also a guest in the Gremlins 2. After his initial run with WWE, Hogan played a pivotal role in the rise of WCW during the 1990s, where he reinvented himself as a villainous heel of the NWO, the New World Order faction, one of the most iconic wrestling storylines of all time. Yeah, because he turned heel. That was the whole storyline. He returned to WWE and was inducted in the Hall of Fame individually in 2005 and as a member of the NWO in 2020. Hogan underwent numerous spinal surgeries, with reports in recent years indicated he had over a dozen back operations. He was involved in a lawsuit against a Florida-based spine center, alleging that botched surgeries contributed to his long-term physical decline. In 2016, a Florida jury awarded Hogan $115 million in a sex-tape lawsuit against Gawker Media. Hogan sued Gawker in 2012 after he posted a video of him having sex with his former best friend's wife. Hogan contended the post violated his privacy. Hogan has two children, Brooke and Nick, and was married 3 times to Linda Claridge, Jennifer McDaniel, and most recently to Sky Daly. Now, if you look at the early years of Hulk Hogan, I'm just doing the basics here. He began his professional wrestling career in '77, but gained worldwide recognition after signing with WWF. He headlined 8 of the 9 WrestleManias, including other key events like Saturday Night's Main Event and, of course, WrestleMania 3, where he took on Andre the Giant and successfully defended the title. But a few months later, Andre cheated to get it back. Now, his early years were like this. Born in Augusta, Georgia, he was the son of a construction foreman, Peter Bollea, and homemaker and dance teacher, Ruth V. Bollea was an Italian, Panamanian, Scottish, and French descent. His paternal grandfather, also named Pietro, was born in Sigliano, province of Vercelli. Bollea had an older brother named Alan, who died at the age of 38 from a drug overdose. When he was 1.5 years old, his family moved to Port Tampa, Florida. As a boy, he was a pitcher in Little League Baseball and attended Robinson High School. He began watching pro wrestling at 16. While in high school, he revered Dusty Rhodes and he regularly attended cards at the Tampa Sportatorium. It was at one of those wrestling cards that we first noticed superstar Billy Graham, began looking to him for inspiration. Since he first saw Graham on TV, he wanted to match his inhuman look, and he stole a lot from him and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. Hogan was also a musician, spending a decade playing bass guitar in several Florida-based rock bands. He went on to study at Hillsborough Community College, University of South Florida. After music gigs began to get in his way in his time at college, he dropped out of USF. Eventually, Hogan and two local musicians formed a band called Ruckus in '76. The band soon became popular in Tampa Bay. During his spare time, he worked out at Hector's Gym in the Tampa Bay area, where he began lifting. Many of the wrestlers who were competing in Florida visited the bars where Ruckus was performing. Among those attending his performance were the great duo Jack and Gerald Briscoe. Two brothers who wrestled together as a tag team in the Florida region and also held various world and regional titles. Now here it gets a little bit confusing because it's his say against reality. Impressed by Hogan's physical stature, the Briscoe brothers named Hiro Matsuda, the man who trained wrestlers working for Championship Wrestling from Florida, to make it a potential trainee. In '76, the two brothers asked Hogan to try wrestling, and Hogan agreed. Now, 6'7", 302 at his best weight. Now, at first, Mike Graham, the son of CWF promoter Eddie Graham, refused to put Hogan in the ring. According to Hulk, he met Graham while in high school, and the two did not get along. After Hogan quit the Ruckus and started telling people in town he was going to be a wrestler, Graham finally agreed to accept the Briscoe brothers' requests. During his first session in training, Matsuda broke Hogan's leg. After 10 weeks of rehab, Hogan returned to train with Matsuda and blocked him when he tried to break his leg again. So we don't know if that's legends or fact, but we're going to do as much of the published reports. Now, in mid-'77, after training for more than a year with Matsuda, the Briscoe brothers dropped by Matsuda's gym to see Hogan. During that visit, Jack handed Hogan a pair of wrestling boots and informed him he was scheduled to wrestle his first match the following week. In his pro wrestling debut, Graham booked him against Brian Blair in Fort Myers, Florida, in CWF, August 10, '77. A short time later, Hogan donned a mask and assumed the persona of the Super Destroyer, a hooded character first played by Don Jardine and subsequently used by other wrestlers. When he eventually could no longer work with Matsuda, whom he felt was an overbearing trainer, he left CWF. After declining an offer to wrestle in Kansas City, he took a hiatus from wrestling and managed the Anchor Club, a private club in Cocoa Beach, Florida, for a man named Whitey Bridges. Eventually, Whitey and Hogan became close friends and opened a gym together. That gym became known as Whitey's and Terry's Olympic Gym. Soon after, Hogan's friend Ed Leslie, later known as Bruce Beefcake, came to Cocoa Beach to help Hogan and Bridges manage both the Anchor Club and the Whitey and Terry Olympic Gym. In his spare time, he and Leslie worked out the gym together, and eventually Beefcake developed a muscular physique. Hogan was impressed by Beefcake's physical stature and became convinced that the two of them could wrestle together as a tag team. Depressed and yearning to return to wrestling, Hogan called superstar Billy Graham in '78 with hopes that Graham could find him a job wrestling outside of Florida. Graham agreed, and Hogan soon joined Louis Tillet, Alabama territory. Hogan also convinced Leslie, who had yet to become a wrestler, to come with him and promised to teach him everything he knew about the sport. In Alabama, Hogan and Leslie wrestled as Terry and Ed Boulder, known as the Boulder Brothers. These early matches prompted a rumor among wrestling fans the two really were brothers, as few people actually knew their real names, outside of immediate friends and various friends and family and promoters. After wrestling a show for CWA in Memphis, Jerry Jarrett, the promoter for the CWA, approached Hogan and Leslie and offered them a job in his promotion for $800 a week. There was far more than $175 a week they would work in Tillet. Hogan and Leslie accepted this offer and left Tillet's territory, and the rest became history. But during this time in Memphis, Hogan appeared on a local talk show where he sat beside Lou Ferrigno, starred on a television series Incredible Hulk. The host commented on Hogan, who stood 6'7" and weighed 295 at a time with two 24-inch pythons, actually dwarfed the Hulk. Watching the show backstage, Mary Jarvis noticed that Hogan was actually bigger than Ferrigno, who was well known for the time for having large muscles. As a result, Hogan began performing as Terry, the Incredible Hulk Boulder, and sometimes wrestling as Sterling Golden. Now, his first title again was the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight title, Northern Division, and again, many titles over the years. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I don't like Hulk Hogan, I never have, but I do recognize he's a heavy impact on the sport. And but in the words of Bret Hart, sometimes if you're a two-face with the right people, you get it done. And it just seems like he did every way to screw over Bret Hart before, Vince screwed him over. So that's what it is. So Hulk Hogan, dead at 71. A lot of people think he's older than 71, but he is only 71. But another wrestler, iconic wrestler, gone. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here, we're a Sports File podcast. Let us know what to like, comment, subscribe, or share.